Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 992. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Morning, Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
It's a busy week, kids. Busy week. This is the last episode before the Doctor Who Christmas special. Joy to the World airs on Christmas Day at precisely 12:10 Eastern, 10:10 Mountain AM. I'm talking about 9:10 AM for Warren. 5:10 in the UK on BBC One.
As we sit here and record this on Sunday the 22nd, we are 6 minutes past the start time.
We are.
In 3 days. So.
We are. So even that is like, that's like the almost the culmination. There's, of course, Doctor Who Unleashed at some point after that, the the making of thing. I don't remember what it's called, behind the scenes thing. There's, the Doctor Who Proms thing, which is probably, it's going to have to get relegated to like playing in the background on TV at some point before we record our live stream on December 26th at noon Pacific. Am I right in the time? Noon Pacific, 1 p.m.?
I think so.
Don't even know what it is.
For what now, sorry?
For our live stream. Our live stream.
1 p.m. Mountain
time. That's right. So join us for that. And the episode itself will come out sometime after that, of course. But
for Unleashed, as I think we talked about last week, but I can't remember for sure. I know we looked it up. But anyway, it's on at 7:10 on BBC Three, because BBC Three doesn't go on the air until 7 o'clock.
Because, because of the coal miners' strike. Like, I don't know why the BBC...
Why not?
Because they split the bandwidth with CBBC. So CBBC gets the bandwidth during the day and BBC Three.
There's only so much coal to go around.
Yeah, that's true. I do find that amusing. Like, they couldn't just what if we just had another channel? It's like, oh, no. Charter doesn't go for that.
A friend of mine explained everything turns off at 11. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
No, it's so weird.
Well, I still have very vivid memories of being whatever age and, having things go to color bars and signing off.
Yes, that's true too. Yes,
national anthems to close out the day.
And bad movies, like the golden age of crappy movies you'd never see otherwise, like Planet 9 from Outer Space would basically be on at 3 a.m. And that doesn't happen anymore for obvious reasons.
One thing I can say for sure is there are a lot of movies I watched that I probably never would have watched if it wasn't for Saturday Night Cinema leading into Doctor Who.
Ah, yes. Good old KSPS, Saturday Night Cinema.
At the least...
Seven Samurai.
The last 3 minutes anyway, because I remember this is when I discovered that old movies had all the credits at the beginning and the only credit at the end was just the end title card. Yeah. And every time that the tail end of Saturday Night Cinema would come on, so oh my God, the movie's not over yet. Oh my God, they're gonna cancel. Is Doctor Who late? I've got my recording set and everything. And then suddenly the movie ends. It's like the end, and that's it. Oh, thank God for that. Okay,
I remember seeing the end of really Topper, like the last minute of it, several times over before Doctor Who. Oh, we're ghosts now. I'm like, well, thanks for spoiling it.
Anyway, such is our discourse about BBC Three and CBBC. But also the big thing, honestly, no offense to Joy to the World, but for obvious reasons, the thing I'm probably most looking forward to is the War Games in Color, which is on December 23rd on BBC Four, or
a day from now,
or however
just struck me.
I know, or however you.
It is tomorrow, isn't it?
It's tomorrow as we record this. I know.
Oh man, everything's just like
it's all at once. It's all at once. Everything, everywhere, all at once for Doctor Who this week. Anyway, to that end, the War Games in Color on this very podcast episode, I sat down with Mark Ayres and Kieran Highman at Chicago TARDIS last month and talked about this, of course, which contains several minutes of unearthed footage
Spoilers.
Of the War Games announced and discovered on this very podcast when I interviewed Chris Hayden back in September. So there's a bit of a personal connection to it. It's kind of neat, to be honest, to have this silly little podcast actually help in the production of a Doctor Who thing. I mean, as podcasts go, that's pretty much all you could sort of like the best you could hope for is that exact thing. So,
and in the best way, completely by chance.
Completely by chance. So,
Yeah.
so there we go. So however you whichever way you choose a way to watch the War Games in color, I wish you luck, everyone, on December 23rd if you're outside of the UK. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Otherwise, it'll be sometime in this. No formal date has
Probably
been
in
announced, just rumored, but sometime in the spring.
Probably
there should
in the
be
spring.
a home
but
video
iTunes
release.
usually is pretty quick, so I'll just buy it there.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Dalek's in color dropped on iTunes like when we weren't even expecting it. I think
a day later or something like that.
Somebody had to
Maybe
point it
not
out. Yeah, it was like a month later. It's like, oh, by the way, did you notice Dalek's in colors on? Really? It was like $7. I'm thinking, I will buy that. That.
That's exactly what I did. I forgot I owned it, and then I was like, oh, I do own it. Never mind.
Yeah, I know. So do I. Anyway, so that's later on in this episode, but we'll have a full preview of all the news and stuff to come in this episode. But first, a couple of notable deaths in the Doctor Who world. David A McIntee, who had written a lot of Doctor Who novels and short stories and audio stuff, Big Finish range as well.
New Adventures, PDAs.
Yeah, some of the earliest New Adventures back in the 90s. Lots of stuff. He passed away recently, which is very sad, obviously. But he, just an epic amount of stuff. Of course, he's very popular in the convention circuit as well back in the olden days. So that was sad. And then Go on, Chris. Sorry.
I was going to say he's been to multiple Gallifrey ones, but not since we started going.
No, he's certainly the earlier days of Gallifrey 1. And then the one that floored a lot of us, I think, especially in the Doctor Who podcasting world, Siobahn Gallichan died this past week at age 57. Age 57, which is no age. Siobhan had been obviously very front and center in the UK Doctor Who fandom scene and in the podcasting scene as well, Flashing Blade and Staggering Stories. Decades, right?
Especially fandom, decades.
And I'd realize she was there when the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance was sort of starting up in the late aughts, I want to say, is kind of when
that's about right.
Yep. And I was thinking I feel like I've listened to her podcast for years, but then I began to think how did we ever actually been on a podcast together? I'm not sure we ever actually did. It's it's kind of the way that Doctor Who podcasters, communicate, especially ones who are separated by geography. We basically, communicate by electronic messages in a bottle. We throw it out there and then we respond to each other on the next podcast. And that's kind of how our relationship was in that. But just seeing the outpouring of love and emotion and shock at her loss from all the people that we know of, the Staggering Stories crew and Flashing Blade and all that. It was Luke Harrison, Tim Jury's podcast is doing a thing. People who actually hung out with Siobhan for years and decades. She never made it over to a Gallifrey 1. I think you might have met her once, Chris. I think at a tavern
once or twice at Fitzroy or beyond. But yeah, right. And I still, if memory serves, when speaking of Luke Harrison, when he was doing his Doctor Who Mastermind stuff, if memory serves, her score on.
That's
was
right.
it the music? You did the music. No, you didn't do music. I know you had a really good score on that. I never participated because it wrapped up before I was supposed to be the next one. Never
with Ghost Light or something. Was your specialist subject Ghost Light? Is that what it was?
It was going to be season 26. But
yeah, that's right.
But her whatever score she got, right. I seem to remember was something that basically unbeatable.
Yeah. Yeah. God, it's sad. It's just sad, whenever someone dies, especially far too early, we're not expecting it. I mean, I guess the not the benefit, but the upside of it is that just everyone's just sharing so many great stories and tales and I remember when Facebook started becoming a thing, and then sadly people on it were like dying and stuff. And it's like, well, what do we do with these accounts? Because surely there has to be a way to like sort of like, delete these accounts. Like, and now I'm thinking no, because it's like I've just been on Siobhan's Facebook page today and just seeing, how many people are just leaving messages, and it's just like it's a living memorial. Pages like this, social media like this, and it's kind of got me through the shock of it all, a little bit, but
yeah. 50 as we all approach.
I just turned 54, so yeah.
As we all approach that age, it's like, oh man, it seems so young. But I do also recall a time as a much younger person that like 57. Oh my God, that's like Hartnell was on his way out, and he was basically decrepit.
Yeah.
I do that in reverse when I realize how young I was when I saw a movie. I realized the other day I saw Goodfellas at 19. I'm like, it doesn't seem right, because I've seen it a million times since then. But that's exactly when I saw it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's very sad. Our hearts go out to all the people who knew Siobhan, a lot in person, a lot better than we did. But her effect was wide reaching. Did a bang on first Doctor impersonation too, and many different fan audios and everything else. And
yep. Has one or two IMDb credits to that effect.
That's true. Well. That's true. Her legacy will definitely live on. So all the best to friends and family of Siobahn Gallichan and David A McIntee. But to try to bring us back a little bit, Tom Baker's always done an annual Christmas message. Tom Baker's 91 next month, and he put out a Christmas message, and oh my God, it's 49 seconds long, and it's pure Tom Baker, and it's just
it is.
He seems on the ball for a 91-year-old man. He's doing pretty great.
I just love how his. Tom Baker is like, he's gotten a lot thinner, and obviously he's 90 years old and so on.
Right.
But his voice is so strong.
Yeah, on the big finishes, you can every once in a while tell, but that's also a lot more extended for 48 seconds. But it's still, the magic's still there.
I know. Oh, anyway, the links are in the show notes to that. There's also Radio Times put out because here we go, kids. It's 50 years of Tom Baker. December 28th, 1974 was the broadcast of Robot Part 1. So they have put together a free 64-page bookazine for that. I am, on a whim, I decided a couple days ago, you know what? I did this for the 40th anniversary of season 18 when it came out. What was like 80, so 2020, it was during the early days of COVID. I watched every episode 40 years to the day of the original broadcast. I'm doing the same with season 12 starting December 28th, one episode a week at a random time. I'm not doing the exact broadcast time because schedules changed and all that stuff, but I am doing a 50th anniversary rewatch of Tom Baker's first season starting and honestly, when I thought about it, because it'll coincide with Gallifrey 1, sitting down to watch a Doctor Who episode is not front of mind, no offense to Doctor Who when I'm at Gallifrey 1. And part of me thought, 75 wouldn't have had video cassette recorders. Do I just skip that week and don't watch it? Because that's how it would have done in 1975, right? But I probably won't do that.
You should take up smoking too, and maybe become an alcoholic.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't need to go
complain about whoever the prime minister was at the time.
Yeah,
find some place called the BBC Bar and make sure to go there.
That's true. Maybe Barry Letts could let me his Shabaden machine or something like that and give me like an offer.
No, you just build your own out of a cardboard box, and then you put like little standees of these guys in there.
That's true. Do a telestaff recon.
Erica walks in.
Yeah.
Maybe why are you smoking? What is going on here?
What I should do is just like have like a very bad audio quality copy of, I don't know what is like Sontar Experiment Part 2. I don't know what episode it's going to be, and just like listen to that. It's like, oh, at least a friend recorded it off of TV for me. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if anyone's going to go through those. I'm just going to watch it on my phone. Don't worry, folks.
Okay. Let me say, that was you are known for crazy schemes.
Yeah.
And that's one of your craziest ones that mostly we came up with. So
I will wake up on the Saturday morning at Gallifrey and probably just like while I'm eating my breakfast, I'll probably just pop it up on the TV there. Don't worry. I won't go to too crazy things, but
well, you could go to the bar in the hotel and watch it on your phone, and then you would be really sort of kind of doing the, except for the fact that NBA games wouldn't be playing in 1970, whatever, presumably.
True. 75, yeah. Yeah.
On a completely unrelated tangent, I saw that very recently the 40th anniversary of Spinal Tap rolled around as well.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Crazy. Anyway, Tom Baker, 50 years of Tom Baker. What a thing. Anyway, hey, we talked about Doctor Who. There's new Doctor Who, not just 50 years old. It's like it's going to be barely 50 hours away now as Doctor Who new trailer for Joy to the World dropped, which had
new in quotes
zero new footage, but it was arranged in a slightly different order and at a shorter duration.
It is new, chronologically.
It's true. They had the press screening was last week. The press embargo for reviews dropped. I did not read any of those reviews.
Nope,
I never do. I never do.
Going in cold.
Yeah.
I kind of briefly glanced at the Radio Times one, but right. I'm like, it's only a few more days. I can wait.
Yeah, don't tell me anything.
Yeah, why not?
Well, everything is hit. Well, everything that's hit that I've seen anyway is all spoiler free.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, Hollywood Reporter did basically a Q&A back and forth with Steve Moffat and Russell T Davies. Steve Moffat actually had a pretty cool appearance on the official Doctor Who podcast, talking about this as well. Yeah, he was. I listened to that earlier this week as well. So that was pretty cool. I don't even think that's in the show notes.
It's not, but I'll make sure it's there by the time this goes to press.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. Steve Moffat's always a delightful listen. So that was pretty cool. That was recommended.
Can I also say that man rocks a beard pretty hard?
Yeah, he does, isn't he? He's kind of gone with the beard now in his older age. Didn't have the beard when he was as showrunner of Doctor Who.
Yeah, one thing that isn't in the show notes because I can't actually find a proper link. Like I was sent one somewhat surreptitiously, but the Radio Times when they did their interview with RTD and Moffat the other week and the photo shoot or whatever, there was a 5 or 6 minute segment where there's basically like a pub quiz where they were whoever's conducting the interview was just quizzing RTD and Moff on past Doctor Who Christmas things. And it was kind of amusing. Oh, RTD got a little competitive.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Surreptitious, you say? Was this like not available publicly or something, or is it?
Yeah. That's one way to phrase it. Yeah.
Well,
this is all new to me.
I did come across something randomly on YouTube yesterday or the day before with about a minute's worth of it.
Right.
But the whole like 5-6 minute thing that I can't link to it because I don't know where to find it publicly. So but if I do, I'll pop it in. But
please do.
But it's cute. Like one of the questions was like, what word has never appeared in a Doctor Who Christmas story title? And it was like Christmas and hotel.
Oh, and it was a selection, right?
It was Christmas and Carol and whatever. And the answer was Eve because Eve of the Daleks was a
New Year's Day.
New Year's. Yeah,
I know.
Jam.
Yeah.
But the person reading out the questions, giving like all these multiple choice answers to it, and halfway through the answers, Eve comes up and RT just says, "Yeah, Eve," and then the guy keeps reading all the choices, and Moffat 4 seconds later says, "Yep, it's Eve," and RTD's like, "Oh, you got to be faster than that."
Oh yeah, this tracks. This tracks.
It's cute.
Yeah, it is pretty cute. It's cute. I like it when honestly, it's almost more exciting when Doctor Who showrunners reunite as opposed to when doctors reunite on screen. It's just like, oh, sure, it's reuniting. Oh my God, it's Russell T Davies and Philip Hinchcliffe together. Oh my God, this is like the two doctors all over again. You
just made that up, or did you?
Well, yeah. I don't know. They probably got together for some sort of I remember RTD and Verity Lambert got together for a Verity Doctor Who magazine shoot. It's like, oh my God,
that must have been way back when.
It was in 2007.
She died in 2007. So
yeah, I mean,
right around that time. So
yeah, around just shy of the anniversary, 2007. Did you? It's now more than a week old, so we should have talked about this last week if we were going to talk about it, but we didn't. But did anyone watch Nicola Coughlan on the Graham Norton show?
I never did. No,
I never watched Graham Norton show until you sent it to me, and then it's pretty spotty, honestly. So
I watched that Tuesday night or something. Watched it the other day. It's cute. She has she had like no idea what the hell she was doing. Not being much of a sci-fi person.
I thought you meant just on Graham Norton, because I remember Shooty Got was a little shell shocked or starstruck. He was a little out of his element. I think his first appearance on Graham Norton as the Doctor. I think he's settled in since then. But
I'm kind of glad I'm not a kid watching Doctor Who now, because I remember if this was the sort of thing that would have been around when I was a kid, I would have been indignant and probably furious that these people didn't know about sci-fi, most obscure, stupid sci-fi stuff.
As a kid, I'm just thinking the early days of this podcast, Warren, when we were in our mid-30s, we were probably exactly that.
But definitely as a 12-year-old, I would be indignant about that. Now I couldn't care less. I'm like, whatever. I can't remember half this crap, and I bathe in it, so...
Yeah.
The flip side to that is, like, with all the YouTube and social channels and whatever, just the speed and presence of marketing available is just so much broader now. Like, could you imagine if we had access to stuff like this back as a kid? It's a mixed blessing, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch these next two items just because I want to get this one over with first before I get to the other one, because there's more of a discussion about it. But you can build your own half scale Dalek with a thing. It's in the UK and the US. Apparently, this is what you can do. It's from Hachette Partworks or Hachette. I don't know. It's a brand new monthly partwork collection that allows fans to bring the Doctor Fears foes into their homes. So basically, it's you get bits. It's by like ordering a Lego set by mail, and you get a bag of parts every month. And by the year 2033, you can build a full sized half scale Dalek. Is apparently what
can I shove a Roomba into the bottom of this thing?
Oh, that's a very good question, actually. Yes, you probably could. Wouldn't that be amazing?
So you just go around vacuuming. You can have it yelling about how much it hates vacuuming.
Warren, maybe you can make it run Linux.
I'm not a fan of Linux. It's annoying. Actually, no. Linux is fine as an idea. The guys, whenever you ask for advice, who yell at you about some obscure nonsense you know nothing about. That's what I don't like about Linux. Also, they all have beards and wear sandals and socks. So, not stereotyping at all.
No,
I don't think it says in the article here how many bits you have to order to be able to build it all. But
what if you give up halfway?
Yeah.
Well, that's your loss, I guess. But one thing that strikes me as really odd is just looking at the prices of the issues, as they call them. So the first issue is £1.99 to €2.99 or $9.99 US. So this massive jump from £1.99 and $9.99 versus everything else normally being £11.99 and $14.99 US. So even on the promotionally cheap first hit is free kind of thing, even Americans aren't getting a great deal.
I hope these guys don't go out of business halfway. Like when you have some sort of software that's really useful and all of a sudden they just tank because their venture capital is gone. I hope that's not a situation that happens here. So you're stuck with 3/4 of a Dalek.
Right. I'm just looking. I'm trying to look through the thing here. So the collection.
Is kit 1 $9.99, kit 2 free.
Free. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So they list the first 4 kits are there, I think, which doesn't look like a lot. Like I see by kit 4. I still don't see like slats. There are no slats. There's no Dalek bumps. I don't think even
slat controversy.
Explodes. And I don't now. I'm looking at the FAQ. I don't know if this
built-in lights for the eye stalk and interchangeable weapon for a claw.
Okay. It says how much does each kit cost? When is the collection published? How many kits are there in the collection? Here we go. I assume this is purely for this Dalek one. There are currently 140 kits planned.
What?
In total.
So what is 140 divided by 12? How many years
that's
this
over 13
take?
Years.
That's not right.
10 years would be 120. So it's over 11 years.
We can't do this. We can't build a Dalek in 11 years. That's ridiculous, right? That's wrong. That's got to be wrong.
There's only 140 of them, so these kits by themselves will be insanely expensive inside of a year.
I don't understand that. Don't wait a whole decade to build a Dalek, and it's a half size one.
You need to get on the internet and complain about this.
Well, we're on the internet right now.
I suppose we are, yes.
This is it. This is our forum, so we can complain about it. That's ridiculous. I can't.
Does it say that they're monthly?
It says monthly. How often is the collection published? Monthly. How many kits are there in the collection? There are currently 140 kits planned.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's just on the main page, there's not too far down from the top, there's a dude sitting down with a remote control in front of the built Dalek, and it says Dalek model complete in 140 kits.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, or is it 140 models, so it's super rare and collectible afterwards? Like
no.
140 needs a whole thing
140 different shipments of that seems wrong. Please prove me wrong.
That's a lot.
Hatchet Collections, reach out to us and tell us the exact duration of how long it will take to build this Dalek, and will it outlast many of us? Because that's a long time to build a Dalek.
Well, the thing is, if you can't be the only person to have noticed that, so there has to be some sort of outrage happening.
There has to be something, right? It's got to be something. I mean, it looks like a cool Dalek, but not if it's going to... I was joking about it being done in 2033. I was joking. That's underestimating when it's going to be done.
So by that time, the Daleks will have actually taken over.
So it will. That's right.
There's a 1.25-minute video.
Okay, I've watched it.
About halfway down the page.
Right.
And I'm just scrubbing through it, and there's a little blurb saying model specs, scale 1:2, base size 60 by 11 centimeters, total height 82 centimeters.
Wow.
That seems
it's big. Daleks are only like 5 feet tall. They're not that big.
Yeah, I keep thinking stupid New Paradigm ones. Materials: die-cast alloy, metal structure, ABS plastic, and mechanical and electrical parts.
Sounds good.
Pieces, approximately 700 to 800.
That's right.
Good gravy.
That's right. 140 kits planned.
It's 700 pieces and 140 kits means on average there's five pieces in a kit roughly.
Now, come on, yes.
As an obsessive Legoist, you kind of have to enjoy this in a way.
Well, you know what? I would enjoy it, but I would hate it if I would get a Lego set with one tiny... It was basically getting an advent calendar a day, except that day would be a month, and those pieces I would get the 13. No, it's dumb.
And also, who's to say the pieces you're going to get are going to go together, or are they with other kits? So that could be equally frustrating.
And what happens if you miss one or two kits for whatever reason?
You're screwed. You have to lash something out.
This is giving me flashbacks to the old days when if you couldn't videotape Babylon 5, you were never seeing it.
I suppose not. Yeah,
which is the main reason I never watch it now, just out of bitterness of the 90s.
Remember there was in the early 90s, there was a Doctor Who chess set, and you would mail away and get a new one every 2 months. They'd send you a new...
It's like buying the encyclopedias at the Safeway.
Yeah, except you couldn't play chess until you got the whole set. And then I think they discontinued it halfway through. So a lot of people didn't I still have I don't have a king. How am I supposed to play chess? Well, I have no solution for your problem. We decided on this twice monthly shipping thing, and we stuck to it. And then we went bankrupt, so you get no chess sets. I hope this doesn't take 13 years to make a Dalek.
Capitalism, baby.
Prove me wrong.
With motors and lights and all that, I would have to think they'd have to make it like super simple for anybody to build. Like,
how will Americans run these things with Ontario cutting off their electricity?
There can't be any soldering or anything like that, I'm sure.
None.
Although you get like wires and a little printed circuit board and
oh my God,
tools and stuff if you subscribe. Subscribers get more with Dalek builds.
I like how we've quite probably created a controversy where there isn't any here.
I don't know. I don't know if there is. I'm thinking there might be a controversy.
Put your press hat on, find out if there's a scoop.
There might be.
Email these guys.
This is an official thing. This is posted in the official Doctor Who. I love that this is going to be the throwaway thing. We just spent 10 minutes talking about this.
That's on brand for us.
Pretty much. The other thing, which they announced on Friday, I want to say this past week, Rose Ayling-Ellis, MBE, is going to guest star in Doctor Who season 2. She was rumored, she was hotly tipped to be the new companion when they announced that it was indeed going to be Millie Gibson playing Ruby Sunday. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder why her name was so in the news at that point. And now here she is actually in season 2. What the curious thing is, the timing of it. They dropped this on a Friday before the Christmas special drops, which leads me to believe that there's going to be a trailer for season 2.
That would not surprise me
at the end of the Christmas special, possibly with a broadcast date on it. Hoping.
Like a month, I would bet. They wouldn't say the date. They would probably say the month.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they say coming March 28th?
Just to leave some mystery to it. Why not?
Well,
also gives them some flexibility, too.
Because, it could just say coming in 2025, could say coming in spring 2025 or summer or whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
We've, I'm not, without saying too much, we've all heard rumored start dates of it, and RTD did say, it's coming sooner than you think.
On the one show, yeah.
But yeah, nothing formalized yet. I'd love to have that information.
I'd be happy to have a date. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if they just said the month and then the year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they just said coming 2025.
Or that too, yeah. Which is completely vague.
There was that leaked Disney email or something that said March 28th, I think it was the premiere date for just a single episode. They wouldn't be doing a double drop like they did with season 1. So that was the info way back when. And let me tell you, in the RFS, the official RFS planning sheet, that is exactly where I have it in there. So I don't want to have to move Excel tabs around. Thank you very much.
That's the key. Your convenience in Excel.
Yes, I've planned for this. Stuff is in just perfectly. It's not, but I'd like it to remain that.
Is that right next to November 5th, Kamala Harris becomes the first female president.
Just like special Kamala Harris podcast about it. Yeah. That didn't happen. Anyway, we've buried like 30 odd minutes into this silly thing. We've buried the lead in a way because there's so much happening. The next Blu-ray set, which let's face it, has been an open secret for quite a while, has been announced. Season 7 is coming to Blu-ray. No date announced yet. My God, is this not the best season of classic Doctor Who ever made?
Okay, list them off because I'm a dum-dum.
Well, you've got your Spearhead from Space.
Okay, pretty good.
You've got Doctor Who and the Silurians. You've got the Ambassadors of Death and Inferno.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good lineup.
And just the tone of the thing, and just how, oh God, I love season 7 so much.
Well, and seeing a Blu-ray of Spearhead from Space is pretty great too.
Well, it's already been on Blu-ray, actually.
I know. Yeah. I'm just saying, just having that quality is nice.
I never bought it.
The film.
I never bought it. Warren never bought it.
I did.
You did.
I did. Because there's new documentaries on it, and it's on Blu-ray. So this will be the 18th version of Spearhead from Space, I think, made available on home video.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
I think I'm exaggerating, but I thought I was exaggerating with 13 years, and I wasn't there.
So the question remains then, are we going to see differences between the North American and British versions as far as the Fleetwood Mac song and Spearhead goes?
Yeah, good question.
Obviously we had that with the Beatles in The Chase, so we might see it here.
Well,
we did get it in the second or third release in North America. We got
so confused now. Yeah, I know because
I can't remember where it hit, but it did come out somewhere along the way.
It did, and obviously it was on the original broadcast version. The doll making scene. There's a Fleetwood Mac song on there. Oh well, and I think it's, I don't remember if it's removed or not from the Blu-ray or not. I remember. I don't remember either. I thought it was pretty cool at the time. It's just sort of music that's coming over the radio. It feels kind of weird and incongruous in a way, to be honest. But it is the original podcast version. We'll see. We'll find out. I am really looking forward to, on the restoration side, how the technology has advanced since they recolorized the Ambassadors of Death for DVD. Mm-hmm. Because that is
one of the first ones, wasn't it? No,
it's been one of the last ones because it's tricky because they don't have. I don't think there's the chroma dots doesn't quite work for it, and the matching of like the off air recording from like 1978 in the U.S. of the color version isn't the tape is a little wobbly, so they trying to
40-year-old
match that up.
Almost tapes,
so that
50,
they have so like episodes, I think 3, 4, and 5 are the big problem episodes, I think. So I'm intrigued to see how they do that. That's a big
as I recall, it's not as bad as Mind of Evil episode 1.
Well, no,
that was redone like
Mind of Evil
was
not, because that was the one time when they made black and white copies. It says here to turn off the color signal so that we can get a proper. It's literally the only time that someone did what they were supposed to do, and thus no chroma dots were recorded. I think there were chroma dots, but.
Don't forget about North American copies. NTSC stands for never twice the same color.
That's true.
So it's not reliable to begin with. That's the thing engineers used to say, because it's like compared to PAL, it was a very lashed together system. Like the fact you have color is a hack, essentially.
Yep.
A couple of things about the set that caught my attention was, number one was the extra long Matthew Sweet interview. This time was with John Levine. No disrespect, Levine was the very first Doctor Who person I ever met at the 1988 convention. That
was there too. Yeah,
absolutely you were, and we've got many fond memories of him and his very off-color jokes. I
don't have fond memories of that. I don't remember it, probably for good reason.
Yeah.
When he did his quote-unquote cabaret, I remember so many.
An Edmonton audience in 1988 would have been more than receptive to that. Let's just put it that way.
It was a product of its time. Let's put it that way. But but then I got to thinking, it's like, okay, so like, this is like pre-Katie Manning, and Carolyn John has passed, and Pertwee has passed, Nick Courtney has passed, and there's no Richard Franklin yet, and like the selection of people available for such a thing to coincide with season 7, pretty small list. So
let's get Janet Fielding. Yeah,
makes sense. And Levine does have he's led such a very interesting life. So I do kind of look forward to it. Like the Louise Jameson one, for example, some of the nooks and crannies of Jameson's life that Sweet went down were very interesting. And I look forward to that kind of thing with Levine as well. And then for Behind the Sofa, no doctors.
No, interesting.
None at all.
Yeah.
Which I think 15 was that way as well, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
So
they're done. They're done watching other people's Doctor. The hell
is had enough.
Yeah,
please
let
us be old in
but
peace.
On the season 15 set, one of the people they had on Behind the Sofa was Pennant Roberts' widow. And here they've got Jeffrey Beavers and Daisy Ashford, Carolyn John's widow and daughter.
Yeah.
So that's it's an interesting door they opened with season 15 that they're continuing here that I kind of like.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different perspective than some other stuff we could have had.
I think so too. Also, I mean, the big thing is looking for Mac
for you.
For a lot of people looking for Mac. They fell along looking for Peter R. Newman, for Lenny Mayne, looking for Malcolm Hulke, a big documentary on Malcolm Hulke by Toby Hadoke and Chris Chapman. That is the big one that I am looking forward to a lot. But there's other documentaries on there too, and movie-length omnibus editions of Doctor Who and the Silurians and Inferno. I don't know if those are specially made for this, or were they the repeats that they might have been airing at Chris's time, perhaps back then. I don't remember when they started doing that. If it was
could just be the omnibus versions cut for international sale, maybe. I don't know.
Could be the ones that
but
we
even
saw
then,
and grew up
some
with.
of that be black and white. So
yeah, I know. Please put Doctor Who and the Silurians and Ambassadors of Death in their original black and white form, please. Thank you very much, because that's how I still see them. Honestly, it's weird to see it in color in this day and age.
I assume Toby's presenting the Malcolm Hulke piece because he usually does those. I hope they talk to Michael Herbert. I really do.
You know what? I can confirm that they did, because Michael Herbert is currently on Toby Hadoke's Patreon feed for his Happy Times and Places. He's just started watching the War Games, and then Michael Herbert has contributed
Excellent.
bit there, and this is where Toby says yes, he was fully involved in the making of this. So yes.
What about John Williams?
I don't know if our friend John Williams is on there.
I hope so.
Yeah, because I know he was a few years ago in the midst of writing a book that turned into a magazine article, I think, but about Malcolm Hulke. So we'll find out. Sometime in the future.
John and Toby are old friends.
That too, as well. Yeah,
it's certainly possible.
That's true. Anyway, the pre-order for that is up for the UK. It just gives another tab for me to open and hit refresh every single damn day of my life to see when this is going to come. I knew that season 7 was going to be imminently announced, because whenever the release date for the previous version happens for North America, usually coincides with the announcement of the next set. And that is what we finally got. February 25th is the release date for the Sylvester McCoy Season 2. Everyone else calls it Season 25 set here in North America. So that's been pre-ordered here. I know, Warren, you obviously have. You
Absolutely
pre-ordered
not.
2 sets, one to remain in pristine quality on the shelf, and then the other
When
one
I
to
said
watch.
for you, I was referring to something else, the season 7 PDF content, because that is your jam.
Oh, yeah.
But I got ahead of myself, so I apologize.
That's
Well,
right.
PDF content, 66,743
Steven's
pages.
going to read
Total
every single
stuff.
one of them.
Total across all the 17 releases.
Across everything. Yeah.
2,900 pages.
Oh, that's the total across it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're right. Okay. Sorry.
29
Even still, that's
yeah.
a lot of scans.
2,900 pages for the season 7 stuff, including page sheets, but like all the draft scripts, the rehearsal scripts, the camera scripts, especially for Inferno, because Barry Letts had to take over from Douglas Camfield after the first production block of that. So seeing the differences between the scripts and that aspect will be fascinating. The camera scripts for Ambassadors of Death, directed by Michael Ferguson, one of my favorite stories of all time.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to be, when this thing comes out. When this thing comes out, we'll do an episode on it. We'll do an episode on season 7. I guarantee you that.
Of course we will.
Yeah.
But even looking at just this release, like just a quick rundown of the numbers, is way over 2,000 pages of various things.
2,900 pages, all told. Well done.
Oh, yeah, so it says right there.
Right
almost
there.
3,000.
I know, right? Yeah. Telling Crystal.
I was looking at the list. Not
you were looking at the list.
Graphic, not the graphic.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that is all very exciting. I can't believe this has been 17 Blu-ray releases now.
That's nuts. I can't believe I have 3 of them.
I know, amazing, Warren.
That in and of itself is nuts. And Blake 7, which I have yet to look at anything of.
I know.
With any luck, I haven't looked to confirm, but with any luck, the BBC Shop Canada put about a dozen or so of these for $30-$35 for the set. So if that sale is still on, anybody else in Canada who hasn't bought the sets, because they might be a little pricey, if they're still on sale at the BBC Shop, now might be a good time to.
You should get them in 2026.
Cheap stuff.
Yeah. Amazon. I see it has the season 3, which is season 9, on for like half off right now too. So
yeah,
feel free to.
Which is more irritating, this DVD naming or Blu-ray naming, or people who insist on calling like Shooty Got was season 45 or whatever it is. I'm not paying any attention to that. I think that's more irritating.
Wrong. Nobody's wrong though.
But irritating though.
That's true.
Remember back in the day when Stephen Moffat reportedly wanted to call season 5 season 1?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or 5131 as we
I know,
would
he
call
did
it.
Season Finard, which I
Finard.
approve of.
Yeah, I don't think he had the marketing team behind him on that one. Not like the current season 1 and season 2.
Well, it makes more sense with Disney because it's a completely new thing to a whole pile of people. So I kind of understand it there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been enjoying that the Disney promotion I've seen at the bottom. It always says DR Who.
That's proper.
Yes, finally, victory.
Taking it back to the original, and they did that. Anyway, as I mentioned, February 25th, season 25 here in North America, and then we wait for a release date for The Savages, and indeed season 7. But hey, we're getting the stuff filled eventually, very eventually.
Yeah. And we also all now have our Blake 7 sets. You finally got yours, Stephen.
I did. It's been a hectic week, a month and a half, let's face it, here in Radio Free Skaro Towers. But I did peel the plastic off. I looked, there's a book in there. There's a book in the set. We don't have books, folks. We don't get the books in any of the Doctor Who Blu-ray sets here in North America. Not even a PDF. They did it for the first one, the season 12 set, but no PDF of the little book since. So to actually have a physical book in that Blake 7 set, I was like, oh my God, this is bliss.
Because I'm stupid. Okay. On the back of it, it says, there's a whole new documentary about Blake 7, and we also have this old documentary. And I looked through it, and I'm like, I think this is all one documentary. What's going on here, guys? This is very confusing. I have yet to go on the disc to find out.
Well, you'll find out, Warren, when you see it. I haven't. It's been so busy that I know I wouldn't have time to fully dive into it, so I just haven't done it yet.
Same here.
But hopefully after. Listen, I'll be honest with you. It's not going to happen before our next RFS recording on Boxing Day because there's just no time.
I have family here, and you'll be shocked to learn they don't want to watch Making of Blake 7 documentary.
Let's watch Aurak. Come on.
But do they want to watch the War Games in color?
No, they don't watch any of that crap.
No. Well, they're not really your family then, Warren.
I believe what? Okay.
Tell them to go away. Tell them to take a train to Burnaby, and you're going to watch all the Doctor Who stuff while they go there.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds healthy.
Thanks for coming to visit. Go away. I need to watch Doctor Who.
So I can, and then when they find me, Tom Baker's age, just in a room full of DVDs that don't work anymore, mumbling to myself, they'll go, "How did this happen?" And we can trace it right back to here.
Yep. Or when you were 13.
Neither were.
Anyway, one last bit of thing before the interview with Mark Ayres and Kieran Highman about the War Games of Color. The Big Finish Worlds of Doctor Who Dark Gallifrey Missy returns to Big Finish. Parts 1 to 3 starts in April of 2025. One story a month comes out. There is no actual cover art to endlessly pore over.
That'll come in time, I'm sure.
Yeah. She meets the Seventh Doctor, and I can't believe they didn't use as a subtitle "Messy Bitches Who Love Drama," because those are two messy bitches who love drama.
Great, actually, yeah.
Or something Scottish.
That too. That too.
Yeah.
Michelle Gomez is awesome, by the way.
She's still. I think she's probably my favorite master.
Tough to beat. I agree.
She is definitely chaotic neutral at best. Chaotic evil, perhaps. Mm-hmm. As an alignment, but she's just so good.
She's great. There's character development. She's funnier than hell.
Mm-hmm. All the best.
All good stuff.
Yep.
Go watch Green Wing if you haven't seen it.
And go watch.
Nothing against Sacha Dhawan or any of the classic boys, but I think she's probably my all-timer.
Mm-hmm. She's good. Anyway, that's it. That's it for our news, everyone. After the very short break, go back in time for a month ago as we talk to Mark Ayres and Kieran Highman about the War Games in Color. My idea was to talk to these two gentlemen at Chicago TARDIS anyway, but then a little thing called the War Games in Color came out, and that made our conversation even more relevant. I welcome to the podcast Mark Ayres. Hello, Mark.
Hi, good to see you.
And Kieran Highman. Hello, Kieran.
How's it going?
Not bad, Kieran. I'll start with you first because I talked to you about Daleks in Color. I don't remember when that was now. It was in the
run-up. About a year ago, yeah.
Was it a year ago? And, I threw a little softball question out there saying, what would you do next if you were to do this again? And you all sort of said, oh, boy, I wonder what we would do. You already knew this, didn't you?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
The War Games is coming.
Well, it was sort of, we knew from the beginning that we wanted to do two, because you do a Hartnell, you got to do a Troughton, and you get complaints otherwise. So,
right.
Yeah, well, it wasn't totally decided what story we'd do from the start, but it was pretty clear that we all wanted to do Troughton.
Right. And so how long did it take for you to land on the War Games then as the one to do? The longest possible one that you could edit down?
Well, I think they got down to that basically towards the end of the Daleks in the last sort of month or two. Ben would have started working on the edit. But we go for the longer ones because they benefit the most from the cutting down.
Right.
But I think we'd still happily cut down a 4-parter to 75 or 60 minutes, but it's the most noticeable change when it's the longer ones. They get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of this decision, Mark? Were you involved in it at all? Were you just
No, I just do as I'm told. No, I was delighted to be asked to do Daleks in Color, and then asked to be, and then delighted to be asked to come back for this one. It's no, the decisions are completely out of our hands. No, we're just told what's happening and when it happens.
Mm-hmm. What were you thinking audibly then? Like, were you thinking like what music you can add, or like what cleanup needs to be done, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean that all. Well, in terms of restoration, yes. I mean, I've obviously looked at War Games before, but I went back and did it all again, or did at least another pass on it, because the purpose was going to be different. Mm-hmm. In terms of music, well, that completely depends on the edit, so I can't make any decisions on that until I see the edit. And I can work out what of the original music we can reuse, and where I'm going to have to, go in a slightly different direction. One of the first things I did on this, and I hope I'm not giving too much away, but I did re-record a lot of Dudley's original music. So whereas on the Daleks in Colour, obviously it was electronic music concrete by Tristan McCary, so we used his original tapes. On this one, there are no original tapes surviving. So where I needed to reuse Dudley's music, it has been completely re-recorded.
Interesting.
But I found the interesting thing was I found some things in Dudley's original score, which would have been recorded in the original sessions, but then weren't used. So there is actually going to be some Dudley Simpson music in this that you've never heard before, but it is original music which was written for the War Games.
Oh wow!
But never actually used. So that's been very exciting. From my wearing my history professor hat, for Doctor Who music and sound. So it's fascinating unearthing that. But then a lot, obviously, the thing is the pacing of the show is so different. So, we've had a lot of criticism for this, as you know, but a lot of the sort of faster, more action stuff in the latter half of the Daleks in Colour was purely because you couldn't just score scenes because it was all montages. In fact, there's 3 or 4. The latter half of the Daleks in Colour is basically 3 or 4 mega montages,
right?
of getting people from A to B, and then a slight pause, and then it all picks up, or we get them all from B to C, all done in montages in interwoven narratives. And so just, in scoring individual scenes didn't work. So what I had to do was write these mega cues, which sort of tied whole series of incidents together. So it's a completely different way of working and a completely different way of scoring. And, Tristram's music just wasn't written for that. So,
no.
and the style had to change. And also, it was a given that we were going to end up, they really wanted to end on the Wedding of River Song for the montage and at the end. And if we just had a very, very electronic score leading up to that point, and then suddenly you've gone, mega Murray Gold orchestral,
right? It
just wouldn't have worked. It would have been so incredibly jarring. So that, again, in my mind, what I wanted to do was, here was this first Dalek story. So let's actually, because I've got to get from from starting off with Delia's theme, Ron Grainer's theme, Tristram Carey's music, and then we've got to end on Murray Gold's Wedding of River Song. I wanted to sort of take the audience on a journey, so when that happened, it wasn't a surprise,
right? So
that it all worked. So that's another reason why the music sort of evolves, and it was also a tribute to the longevity of the show. I felt that we were making this thing which not only celebrated the beginnings of Doctor Who and the first Dalek story, but also ending on that montage celebrated the fact that this is a show which has gone on for 60 years.
Right.
So I tried to reflect that musically as well. I don't think a lot of people understood that, but that's what was going. That's what was going
that was
on.
The intention.
That was what was going on.
Yeah. So obviously, just go back to music again while we're on it. You're not doing a weird electronic score now. You're doing a more of a orchestral symphonic thing.
This is now ostentatiously, what would Dudley do? And I've been because we haven't been doing that sort of overall thing which we were doing with the Daleks. This is very much this is the War Games, but again it's much tighter edit. It needs much tighter music, much more pacey music in places. So the whole thing is very much inspired by Dudley's original score, but there's a couple of big new themes because it needed to be. And again, there are things which Dudley didn't score, which this time we have scored. And, modern television and the way Ben edits needs a lot more music than it did back then. So, But, as I say, similar to Sharda, when I did Sharda, which was done all deliberately in Dudley's style because I wanted that to sound like Dudley's last score, But here it's very much, what would Dudley do? What would Dudley do if he had the gear I've got?
Did you actually get the small orchestra again, or is it just an all?
No, I wanted to, but as I said in the panel just now, I'm not just writing this, scoring this, mixing this, dubbing this, foleying this, dialogue editing this, sound design. I'm doing so many jobs that there was a point when I thought, yes, let's do a couple of sessions and get 3 players in, and I would have loved to do it, but I just ran out of time. But it works. It does work. Yeah. That would have been the cherry on the cake, but we just couldn't make it work.
Yeah. Well, what are the challenges then, Kieran, for colorizing 1969 Who as opposed to 1963? Like, are there more sample images to take color swatches from, that sort of thing?
It's different for the War Games because we don't have the same creative licenses we had for the Daleks because we're bound to the authentic colors of these, World War I soldiers and all these soldiers from the different eras. We even consulted an expert to make sure that we got, the insignias and the badges on all the soldiers' uniforms, right? You know. But in terms of original color photos, yeah, it's the same on the War Games as the Daleks, that there are color photos taken on set by the designer. Whereas on this, the difference is that we were able to use more of that color in the final product. Because on the Daleks, a lot of the colors very much sort of silver, you know, for the Dalek headquarters and that sort of thing. And the jungle didn't have a lot of color in the original set. But for the War Games, the corridors and things that you see in the alien headquarters, very bright reds and yellows, and we were able to use all of that.
I wonder about those, yeah.
So yeah, they make it in. Really, the only big point of creative license in the War Games is for the Time Lords at the end, because there's no color photos of the Time Lords. So as you've probably seen in the promotional photo, I went for the same sort of magenta highlights that you see in the Daleks when Hartnell's getting interrogated by the Daleks.
Right.
I sort of felt like, well, that's maybe magenta is the color of interrogation, so a trial can have it as well. And, you know,
right.
That's the way the Time Lords do things. Sort of implies a bit of a shared technology, perhaps, between the Daleks and the Time Lords.
You're rewriting
This
canon.
is the whole canon I'm coming up with for myself, you know.
I mean, neither of you were involved in the actual editing of it, but I remember talking to Benjamin Cook about, you know, the directorial style of early 60s Who was perhaps a little more static than obviously today's. But even by 1969, I feel like maybe David Maloney's direction was a little more, you know, energetic with more cuts perhaps and cameras. Would that make for an easier edit? Because you have to sort of cover those edits in different ways.
I mean, very much a question for Ben, but certainly things like, people talk about the flashbacks that you see in the Daleks. That's very much to cover points where, you know, you've got a 60-second long shot that doesn't change angle and you want to cut out the middle 30 seconds. Yeah. Well, what can you cut to? But you want to do a quick flashback, that covers it, and there's no other angle to go to.
Yeah.
But with the War Games, there's so much going on in the story. There's always a B-plot or another angle that David Maloney put in that you can cut to and cut away back to, you know. So, yeah.
And this is where I bring up my surprise involvement, because little did I know that this was happening all the time when I was talking to Chris Hayden, film editor of the War Games, who dropped in the interview that he had a work print, that what he called a work print. I immediately had that sent off. Toby Haydock arranged it. Peter Crocker was sending still images and updates of what's on it. How did that derail or help the process, I suppose, at that late stage?
I was lying in my bed about to go to sleep. I thought, put on some Radio Free Skaro, that'll help me get to sleep, you know. And then, this thing comes up. I've actually got the original film from the war. And I sit up in bed, I go, I got to screen record this. I sent it to Rich and sent it to Ben.
Right.
And we all thought, oh my God. But there's obviously no time for us to put it in the edit, surely, because, you know, assuming that he had found it and that it wasn't, you know, vinegar, get it shipped off, physically restored, scanned, digitally restored and colorized, put in the edit. There surely wouldn't be any time, but, you know, 2 weeks go by and we have the footage to go in. It's like,
wow.
It must have been record time, surely.
I mean, I immediately sent off. I said I did my best for what it's worth. I did my best to send it to video. Yeah. I was very impressed.
Me and Ben were sort of convinced that it wasn't going to happen, but Rich sort of was convinced that this is going to happen, you know, which is Rich's temperament. He's the positive one all the time.
These things will happen if there's the will to make them happen, and there was the will to make it happen, and it happened. It meant that the locked edit, which I'd been promised was locked, was suddenly unlocked again for the fourth time.
15th time, I think.
It was You went through it a bit earlier than I did, but I was sent a locked edit, which was, yes, Mark, this is the one you can do all the sound design to. So set up your project, and then it changed 4 times after that, which is a bit of a headache for me. But you get through it. You get through it. But no, it's absolutely worth doing. Absolutely worth doing, and it is great that people like yourself do have your ears to the ground and are talking to people, and this stuff is still coming up. I think it's terrific. It's amazing what turns up.
Am I right in thinking that there was sound with the film inserts, or
there was sound with the film, actually, the mag film? But I have to say, I thought I was going to have to go and re-restore all the early bits using a newly discovered dialogue. But in fact, the mag had faded more than the film.
Oh, interesting.
And in fact, I've stayed with what I already had. It was what I had already had was better than what was on the film, which is very weird. But mag film can fade an awful lot. If you get if it's put near a source of heat or cold, it can fade and dull, and it had
Didn't you say on the panel yesterday, Friday morning here at Chicago TARDIS, that there's like an extra 14 frames or something of footage at the tail or end of one of those?
Yeah, there's a bit of loss. I mean, the footage that's been recovered picks up on scene 2 of the original show as they are climbing the bank past the barbed wire, and there were 14 frames missing from the beginning of that shot, so we had to tighten that up. And then, for instance, at the end of the recap of part 2, when Zoe has rescued the Doctor from the firing squad, as they run off on the original episode, they brought up the episode 2 caption as they run away. So, of course, Ben had to cut that because we couldn't have just a random episode 2 caption in the middle of an omnibus. But we've actually been able to continue it for a couple of seconds at that point because it doesn't have. So you're actually, seeing the end of that scene without the caption on it. So that's, I mean, stupid things like that. Us nerds, it excites us enormously, and most people just go, what? But no, we get very excited by that. But it did mean that music cue was then sort of 2 seconds too short, so I had to redo that. So yes, it was. These things throw up challenges, but
Yeah, for me it meant sort of redoing the that firing squad scene because that was a scene we'd done basically at the start of the project, which started December of 2023. And that was one of the first scenes we did. So getting it in HD in October meant plastering what we had done already on top of this new source. And of course, he realized that the telerecording that we'd colorized, quite warped and doesn't have the same sort of stabilization to the image.
Right.
So, yeah, a bit of fixing that up and stretching the image, de-warping it to how it should look. And then essentially redoing it anyway, because he realized there's so much more detail in the new scan that, you got to paint in all this new stuff. Triggers broom, you end up redoing the whole thing.
How do you make sure that the cut from the new HD footage to the existing 16mm footage isn't as jarring as you might think it might be?
You don't really. You just have to do it because otherwise you have to degrade the new footage or sort of overcompensate with the old footage. So I think Doctor Who fans are if they can accept Shardo, where the Doctor walks off as Doctor and walks back on as a cartoon, I think they can accept a slight change in picture quality.
If you can accept it going from videotape to film, you can accept it going from a telerecording of film to actual film.
That's true.
Going back on the colour issue, the thing that's the other thing that's interesting is when Doctor Who, the Daleks was made, it was made in a black and white studio. War Games, I would imagine, was probably made in a colour studio.
It was
on colour cameras because the studios had moved to colour by that point. So the whole point of as we were saying earlier, the whole point of the colours of costumes and sets and props and things in the Daleks was not chosen because of their colour. It was chosen because of their effect on the grayscale. Right. Because it was very much designed as a black and white image. So the TARDIS console was green and a certain shade of green because it popped at the correct grayscale against something else. The science of all that is fascinating, but the designers were brilliant at doing that, choosing colours because of the way they popped on the grayscale. By the time you come to the final episodes of the War Games, you're shooting in 625 line studios set up with colour cameras, and they would already have been, because those cameras were far more sensitive, they were colour cameras, so they were registering grayscale in a different way anyway, so they probably weren't worrying quite so much about the colours of things, how they would look. They were more interested in making interesting sets, and I think you can see that from the photographs. Those really bold reds on those those. You wouldn't choose a really bold red like that, I think, for a black and white studio, right? Because it is really quite an exciting red.
That's why we've kept all that, because it very much works in colour. Yeah. What I noticed as well, just about the black and white image, is that maybe it is something to do with the different cameras used in the different episodes, but each episode sort of has its own sort of different grain to it. You look closely. Each episode has its own sort of look to it aesthetically.
Remember, they were frequently done in different studios.
That's it, yeah.
So they moved around. You didn't necessarily get the same studio. So you'd have the same sets, but slightly different layout in a new studio. Probably using completely different cameras, going through a different mixing desk, there was no consistency,
No, and the trick is to just try and smooth that over with the color work.
Yeah.
And, it's particularly on the Daleks, the example was the lighting in the Dalek headquarters changing, as well as the layout of the room in each episode. So if you can do it as consistently as possible, considering the lighting changes entirely, that's as best you can do to sort of match it all together.
I asked you at the end of our chat about Daleks in color if you had another one planned, and you hummed and hawed and all that. Just because I have to now, if you wanted to colorize another Doctor Who episode, which one would you want to do?
Ooh.
Not to say that it's already in the works, but
could do the Daleks again, I suppose.
get it right this time.
Oh yeah,
annoy even more people. No, we honestly don't know if there's going to be another one yet. We all hope there will be, but we don't know. And I'm sure whatever we do, if we do, will be very exciting. I mean, my personal one I would really love to do is the Web Planet. I think it would be an absolute scream. I think the colours we could put in that would be astonishing. Yes. And there's an awful lot I could do on the sound. I know to turn it into something very special.
Well, I agree about the Web Planet. So we have some shots of the Web Planet in the montage at the end of the Daleks. But the way I had done them originally was so colourful and sort of over the top that I said, "Oh, you gotta bring that down. It's distracting in the flow of the montage. Right? It's too colourful." So I think don't look at the way it is in the montage, because if we did the whole thing, we'd be able to do it all over the piece to a much colourful standard, I reckon.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to the 62nd anniversary of Doctor Who and the Web Planet in color. Coming to BBC4. But first, we'll watch the War Games in color, December 23rd, BBC4 and iPlayer.
Please enjoy.
We will do. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kieran.
Cheers.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, chaps. Very, very much looking forward to the War Games in color on December 23rd. Of course, as we said earlier, the proms on the 24th on BBC 4, 3, 4, 2, probably 2, maybe 4. Don't know.
Proms on 2, War Games on 4, Doctor Who on 1.
With Doctor Who on 1. Ready for Skaro on YouTube. That's where we'll be on for a live stream. Join us on YouTube, and I think probably Facebook Live too. Actually, Thursday, December 26th, Boxing Day for us. At 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. What did we determine? 6 a.m. in Sydney, Australia, I think?
7.
7. Oh, that's perfect.
7 in the East, 4 in Perth.
That's it's the best we can do for everyone worldwide, basically, to have a live stream. So join us for that on YouTube. And, of course, the episode itself will come out shortly after that anyway. So as we review literally everything that happened in the week that was leading up to the Doctor Who Christmas special, actual new Doctor Who, airing at Christmas again. So join us for that later this week. Until then, happy holidays, everyone. We are going to spend our Christmas at the Dalek, as you will hear after the closing credits, just for old time's sake. But until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
We're in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
I bring you greetings from all Daleks. I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek and hug him underneath the mistletoe. And if he's very nice, I'll feed him sugar spice and hang a Christmas stocking from his big left toe. And when we both get up on Christmas morning, I'll kiss him on his chromium-plated head and take him in to say hi to Mum and frighten Daddy out of his bed. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
To you. Ha ha ha!
to be your friend. Please may I have some more plum pudding and custard?
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek, and if I make him happy, he will stay. He'll go and twiddle his eye, and then my little Dalek will say, Merry Christmas,
Christmas
Happy
tree,
Christmas,
mistletoe,
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
to you. Merry Christmas,
I love you,
Happy Christmas,
you love me.
Merry Christmas
Merry
to
Christmas.
you. Merry Christmas.